Hey, I'm Chris Cuomo. Thank you for joining me on the first night of a new mission. So, are you ready to change the game? Good. Let's get after it. All right, first and most of all, thank you. To my new bosses, to the anchors and reporters and staff here at NewsNation, to Dusty, my EP, and my new team, and to you, thank you. Thank you so much. I know that I wouldn't be here without your support and the support of my wife and kids and family and friends. And that means everything to me. And it means everything to what I'm going to bring to you every night, no matter where, no matter what. Now look, I'd like to just dive right into the issues that are being ignored at home and abroad, and we will. But obviously, this isn't a normal show start, given how I got here. So a word about that first. Shakespeare wrote in The Tempest that the past is prologue, meaning that all that has happened before led to this moment. And so it is with me being here with you tonight. I believe that. I've learned lessons, good and bad, in the past many months. I've relied on my family, my friends, my therapist, and thankfully, it's been the case that what doesn't kill us does make us stronger. I've been humbled by what happened, and I'm also hungry to do better in a way that I've never been before. So this show is going to be different than what I've done in the past because I'm different. And I've spent a lot of time looking and listening on the sidelines. It's obvious to me that we need people in my position to do more, to not just play or even referee the game that is plaguing our politics and society. That means exposing the game, show when it's played, show how it's being played, and also to be more transparent about where my head is on the issues that we cover. I also have a new appreciation for exactly how unique my situation is. Most people in my business know politics from the outside. I know it from the inside. You may know this, but I was raised by a giant named Mario Cuomo. He's gone, but his legacy lives on in me, my brother, my sisters, all our kids, my mother, and so many members of the old Democratic Party. So I've seen the inner workings of campaigns and the interplay between politics and government and the interplay between the media and those in power in a way few in my position have. Now you add to that the fact that I've been doing this job for more than 20 years. Don't let the makeup fool you. I was #1 at CNN. I held high positions at ABC News for a dozen years before that, and I began at Fox News. So I know the deal, inside and out. I've been all over this beautiful world, showing the best and worst of humanity. I've been a witness to history for most of the major events in the past 2 decades. So now I want to bring all of that to the table to help you. And my goals are very simple. I want you to count on me going where it matters, whether that means anywhere in the world or to wherever I must go in an interview. The hope is to get viewers like you more involved and empowered. That's why I'm at NewsNation. It's new. No groupthink established here. No audience that has been conditioned to favor one team or ideology. After all, NewsNation refers to you, America. You are the news nation, and we will keep the focus on your interests. As we cover the elections, we can bring it home here like no one else can. We have 200 affiliates. No one can match that number or that reach. So we can show you what's determining a race, where it's happening, not just according to paid pundits or correspondents that fly in and out or some national party headquarters speak. Here, we're all about depth of discussion. We're going to look at what matters and why, here and online. That's why I started the Chris Cuomo Project. It's a podcast. We're going to have longer discussions about what matters. This show and the podcast will work together to give you the most food for thought that we can. And as loud and as angry as our world can sound, here's the fact. Regular people like you, not the fringe, are the overwhelming majority. I know you want better. I know there's a game afoot. And I know you want it to change. But I'm not coming from a place of cynicism. I'm an optimist. And there's good news. You will hear about what makes us great. And you will see how the faces and places in this nation are interconnected and interdependent. That we still dare to care about one another, both across the street or across the country. The simple truth is that America is the beacon of a better life for most people and most places all over the world. And at home, we still have more advantages than most. And here's a message that we need to hear a lot more, especially from those in power. We are still nowhere near our potential. We are manipulated by manufactured division that only works to advance the interests of the fringe and the fake. It is only online and how that can be echoed on TV that distorts the reality. Of course there's division, especially now, but it's not all bad or as bad as you see on social media. Social media is not reality. And people like me in the media, we should have never relied on social media as vox populi, the voice of the people, because it isn't. In a recent survey, less than 20% identify themselves as strong Democrat or strong Republican. Less than 20%. The fastest growing part of our electorate is those of you who don't identify with either party. The majority is not about left or right. You're about reasonable. That's why I'm going to rely not on reading tweets to measure your feedback. I want to go old school here. You see the number that's going to pop up on your screen? I'll read it. 1-844-968-7720. Let's go old school. Call in. You got something you want to say to me? Something you like, something you don't like? Make a phone call, and I'll take calls whenever I can. It'll be a time for us to discuss our society as adults in the room, not some raging radicals or somebody with keyboard muscles. Own what you want to say it to me, let's have a conversation. Here we're going to push those you elected to explain how to make things better. Here, we will not allow leaders to play situations to their advantage instead of yours. Now, here's what I mean. You look at school shootings, right? They're a plague on our society. You got more than, 300,000 of our kids now have been exposed to them since Columbine, which I covered. The number one gun crime in this country is suicide. You rarely hear that, if ever. The numbers aren't even close, by the way. But we don't discuss it. Why? Suicide doesn't fuel division, and division is the game. Now look, full disclosure, I'm a gun owner. Most gun owners I know don't want the wrong people getting high-power weapons with high capacities. And polls show a majority of us are against so-called assault weapons, and yet the minority rules. And even if you want to focus on the role of emotional distress and illness and mass shootings, and I think we should, our leaders still don't look to solve it. And here's the proof. It's not my opinion. We just had a vote in Congress for more resources to help those in distress in our schools. Not a single member of the GOP voted for it. Why not? When they point to this issue as mattering every time we have a school shooting. There's a simple answer. Because they didn't get school security money that they wanted. Now look, I'm fine with my kids having armed security protecting them if needed. A big reason you don't hear about school shootings in big cities, and certainly not at the scale or the frequency that we cover elsewhere, is because of the enhanced security that you have in those schools. But the fact that you wouldn't vote for something that makes it better because you didn't get everything you wanted, that's the game. And it is time to change that game. Immigration. All you hear about is migrants, especially the ones who enter illegally. They don't talk about legal immigration, even though we have such a shortfall of people to take jobs that are absolutely essential to our economy. Why? It doesn't breed division. And if you want to know what the biggest motivator is for people to risk their lives to sneak into this country illegally, it's not that they're evil drug mules. All right, I've been there. I've lived it. It's the enticement by large-scale employers. Why hardly any mention of them, right or left? Why? Why is all the focus on the migrants? The game. It allows the left to show that the right has no heart, and for the right to show that the left has no head for law and order. Again, the problem works better for them than finding a solution. That is the game, and we have to change the game. One more, college debt. What's the battle? Who pays to forgive loans? Why don't we ever talk about why college is so expensive? Any parent out there with a kid in school knows exactly what I'm talking about. We were happy to send our kid to college. Hopefully all three will make it there. But the prices are out of control. Why don't we talk about it? Because just like with immigration, they would rather talk about the problem than mess with the powerful, including big liberal universities. They'd have to mess with them. The power would have to be compromised to get a solution, so you don't hear it. The division is what pays. The day that we move past a simple position of opposition between left and right and move toward reasonable, that is the day that we change the game. Now, if you think about it, referring to our politics as a battle between right and left, it's kind of new. We used to be about the parties. But as the parties became just ideological bases of opposition and increasingly negative perspectives on our reality, they lost their identity. That's why I believe we need more parties. We need ranked choice voting. term limits in Congress, and for presidential electors to be apportioned in the states that matter. Now, I'm saying this to you as someone who's in the news and information business. I'm not a leader. I just want our leaders to lead. This is not something that should be unique. It should be common. You need more choice so that there's more pressure on people to create progress instead of just noise. And look, the game is played by both sides, period. And social media and digital outlets that profit off it make the problem worse. But that does not mean that I see all the players in the game as equal. Okay? You got to look at both sides, but it doesn't mean that it's a 50-50 split. In politics, what you ignore, you often empower. And the right has made a mistake in its silence for too long. Our election was not stolen. Your Republican leaders know this, and yet too many are too quiet while spending too much time being too loud on social media about things that matter a lot less. And it is a mistake. Senator Susan Collins, Republican from Maine, she made news this weekend by saying that she wouldn't be surprised if a lawmaker gets killed given all the talk of violence and threats in the air. She said she's had to call police. She said people come to her home and they're ugly with what they're saying. It's not right. I've had good conversations with the senator, and I believe she acts in good faith. But as things got worse, she too got quiet. Doesn't make what's happening to her right. It is absolutely dead wrong to threaten anyone in power, to threaten anyone, let alone a senator. But she does have a responsibility, they all do, to speak out against the ugly and the injustice and the indecency, not just when it targets them. They have a responsibility to shout down the absurdity within their own ranks and play to the interests of regular people like you who are moving away from the process because of all the poison. Now, I do believe the left has an opportunity for high ground because of these attacks on our democracy. And the upcoming midterms may well be affected by a reaction to January 6th and election tales. But if you want to say you're better, you need to show that you're better. And letting Democrat dollars fund extreme fringe right candidates in primaries shows that they, too, see too much value in playing the game. To be honest, I really don't see how in this current two-party configuration either side can change the game on its own accord. Opposition has simply become too valuable. It's too powerful a position in an electorate. You know, people ask you to vote for them all the time because the other person's worse, or they'll stop the other person. Nobody's telling you how they're going to make it better. Here, I want to make a play to you as the majority, because only you can change the game. That's what I mean when I talk about you being a free agent. Free agent is somebody with no team or tribe. You know who you are. Most of you are what? Socially liberal, fiscally conservative, right? But you're open to ideas, even if you disagree. Live and let live, not caught up in judging everyone and everything. That's reasonable. That's what will change the game. This show will be topical, but it won't be typical. Topical, not typical. I'm not going to follow the pack. I'm here to expose the game. When you see it, I'm going to say it. And I'm going to show you how this is why these things get covered this way. This is what this move means by the left. This is what this move means by the right. And I believe that we can focus on common ground with our leaders here and the collective will to find solutions. We can't obsess on government investigations and fabricated fights at home and ignore the real ones. How little have you heard about Iran? It's one of the good things that social media does. It can bring attention to emerging situations. Why isn't it every day? You don't think that what's happening in Iran right now is going to spill over into how they deal with us? We obsess on the alleged swamp in D.C., but we forget about Jackson, Mississippi? Our own people in the capital city? They've had to boil water into recently. They still don't trust it. The government says it's ready to file a complaint after all these months. Why hasn't more been done? We know why. It's not enough attention. Hurricane Ian was horrible. Absolutely horrible. But you know what's going to happen? The cameras are going to leave. And they're going to leave at exactly the time when the most attention is needed. Not for the spectacle of the storm, but when the insurance claims are made and people are desperate for help and it isn't coming. We will be there, and I will stay on that. Most won't, but this show is not going to be typical. That's how you change the game. So you get where I'm coming from and where the team here wants to go with you and for you. Now there's nothing to it but to do it. I'm going to take a break because I talked at you enough. When we come back, I want to get to the most undercovered concern that we face as a country. Russia's attempt to rebuild the Soviet Union. That's what this is about. We have men who have led both Democrat and GOP administrations' efforts to keep Russia at bay. They know what the reality is of these renewed nuclear threats and what happens in America if nothing changes in Ukraine. We've got former Clinton Defense Secretary William Cohen and former Trump National Security Advisor John Bolton, yes, on the same show, because it's time to get past the left and right. And we also have Bill Maher, who's going to get real about the state of our politics and make some surprising predictions about former President Trump and President Biden. Let's get after it. All right, what is happening in Ukraine is going to wind up hitting us here at home. Make no mistake about that. It matters not only to our democratic ideals abroad, but to our homeland security. Ukrainian forces have taken back ground that Putin thought he was going to hold. So now he is upping threats of nuclear response and playing a game with annexation. Now, this is something that actually is a very dangerous piece of trickery. I spent time on the Ukrainian front lines at the end of June. It's amazing how American their ambitions are and their appetite to be free of an oppressor. It's much like our fight against England was many years ago. Their fight may well become our own if the hostilities don't end in Ukraine, and soon. So the questions: are we doing enough? How long do we have to decide? And what does this nuclear talk mean in terms of our decisions? We have the right guest to break this down tonight. Former Clinton Defense Secretary William Cohen and former Trump National Security Advisor John Bolton. Gentlemen, thank you both for being on the show tonight. Secretary, I start with you. This talk of annexation is more dangerous than people may realize. What do we have to look out for in this proposition that if they annex it, then that means if Ukraine enters it, that they are directly attacking Russia? How dangerous is that as a proposition?
Well, first, Chris, let me congratulate you on your show and wish you the best going forward. I missed you in the past, and I'm glad that you're back on the air, so thank you.
Thank you.
It's dangerous because Putin, number one, doesn't believe in the law. We can say it's illegal what he's done, never be recognized, but Putin doesn't care whether we recognize it or not. He cares about seizing it by power and then threatening you with a retaliation that will make it unacceptable for the West to confront. So it's more about power than law, and he believes he has possession, that's 9/10 of the law. And what we have to do is make sure that we do whatever we can to help the Ukrainians to take back more land as fast as they can. Because as we're moving into the winter months, the more land they can get back, the harder it's going to be for him to move forward sometime in the spring. The danger is that he may be tempted, as he's losing land that he shouldn't have. As he loses that, he becomes weaker. When he becomes weaker, the danger is the probability of him turning to nuclear weapons goes up. So that's the danger we're in now, and everybody should recognize. I don't think he's bluffing. I think we'd have to take him seriously, and what we have to do is deter him as best we can, but then respond in a fashion that makes it unacceptable for him in the future. We can talk about that, but there are multiple plans that have to be considered.
Well, but no matter what the plan is, it's about how big the commitment is from the United States, both in terms of more equipment and whether there'll be boots on the ground. I know that you're aware of the reports that there is tactical help from the United States, both at home here and on the ground there. But do you believe that the United States needs to do more before this becomes a new move for the Soviet Union?
Well, I have to continue to do what we're doing, put the pedal to the metal, get everything we can there. All of he's requesting in terms of HIMARS, the highly mobile artillery systems that can reach into the Russian forces, getting more drone capability, armed drones, and every weapon we can that will take out the Russian soldiers and send as many back either wounded or dead.
Zelensky says it's not enough. Mr. Secretary, as you know, President Zelensky says it's not enough, that he needs a lot more equipment.
He's getting more. We have a package just been approved. We've contributed about $13 billion so far and more coming. It's not enough, but I think he needs more artillery to go with the HIMARS launchers. He needs many more artillery shells to go with it to keep that pressure on. But I think we're giving him enough. We're seeing what he's doing. He's taking back land faster than they were able to really get it in the first place.
Right.
So I think we're helping in a way that is still very calibrated to make sure that we're not taking NATO into the war directly if we can at all avoid it. It might become necessary down the line, depending if Putin were to try to use nuclear weapons. I think at this point we're calibrating it just about right in terms of keeping us supplying him, doing the fighting, and us providing the money and the technology and the training and intelligence.
Mr. Secretary, thank you so much for joining us, especially on the first night. I look forward to having you soon.
Great to be with you, Chris.
All right. Former Secretary William Cohen. Now I want to go to John Bolton, the former national security advisor for former President Trump. It's good to see you again. John, thank you for being on the show on this first night. Appreciate you.
Well, congratulations on coming back on, and glad to see you.
So you heard what the former secretary had to say. Do you agree with his assessment?
Well, I think it's generally I agree with it. I do think we're moving potentially into a very dangerous period here with a lot of upside but a lot of risk. The recent Ukrainian advances, literally just in the past few days in particular, really underscore the Russian army has not recuperated, it's not regained its footing. I have to say, over the past 7 months of this war, every time I think the Russians have hit a bottom in terms of their performance, they surprise me and it gets worse. So this is the point when I think the Putin threat of a possible use of nuclear weapons does become real, when the army may be on the verge of collapse because of Putin's purported annexation of four Crimean provinces. Russian territory itself is threatened in his view, and what that really does is threaten Putin's regime domestically in Russia, which is what he is most worried about. So I think we need to make it clear to Putin that if he did use a nuclear weapon, not only would there be severe consequences for the Russian military, there would be severe consequences for him.
But what does that mean,
John?
Because I want you to kind of make that more understandable, for the audience. The current NSA, National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, last week said the United States will, quote, respond decisively to any nuclear weapon, and said that the U.S. has spelled out in greater detail exactly what that would mean in top-level talks with senior Russian officials. Well, it certainly hasn't quieted them down. What could you do other than an exchange of nuclear weapons, which nobody would want?
Well, I think we should say publicly that if Putin did authorize the use of a nuclear weapon, he would be signing his own suicide note. And I think that needs to be clear publicly so that everybody in the Russian military, intelligence, domestic security conglomerate knows how much is at risk here. This is a very serious step, and as I say, we all know where that decision would come from, and he should bear the ultimate responsibility. He needs to know that. There shouldn't be any ambiguity on the point.
But do you think that he believes, and do you believe, that the United States has the ability to reach out and touch Putin in that way?
I think we can. I think we've demonstrated we've got that ability in giving Qasem Soleimani, the head of the Iranian Quds Force, an early exit, and we can find Putin as well. This is something that the use of a nuclear weapon here, the first time in war since 1945, this is a huge step. And if Putin can execute that maneuver and get away with it by staying in power, it is a terrible signal to Iran, to North Korea, to China. So I do think it's worth considering exactly how we're going to try and deter Putin from doing it. Let's face it, the fact this war began on February the 24th means the West failed. We failed to deter Putin from invading. We failed to deter him in 2014 as well. So these failures of deterrence, in his mind, I'm afraid, are giving him the wrong message.
Now the question is, what resolve will we have politically to make the right choices going forward so it doesn't get worse? Ambassador John Bolton, thank you so much. Appreciate you, especially on the first night. I'll see you again soon.
Very glad to do it.
All right. So there you have it. Two people from the left and the right, very much on the same page. The question is, will our current leaders do the right thing? I'll be right back with Bill Maher. You know, you hear a lot about Trevor Noah and John Oliver, but did you know that Bill Maher has the biggest cable ratings in political humor and satire? And he does for a reason. He goes at both sides. He favors people like you. That's why his HBO show, Real Time with Bill Maher, is must watch, and his ideas about our politics have driven so much controversy. So who better to set the table for what needs to get better than the man himself? I spoke with Bill right after his show on Friday night. Here's what he had to say. Appreciate you being on. I really do. Thank you, Bill.
Always great to be with you, Chris.
All right, so let me get some context for you. Last week, you said many people, both Democrats and Republicans, are anti-American. You don't love America if you hate what it stands for. Explain.
I don't know if I used the word anti-American, but I asked the question, what do you like about America? Because I think it's a relevant question to ask people in this country at this moment, why are you fighting so hard for it if you don't seem to like anything in it? And then I mentioned first with the Republicans, they don't seem to really care very much for democracy. They stood with a guy who tried to have a coup and still are. They don't have a lot of good words to say about law enforcement, which always was kind of a big part of their portfolio. The FBI, they're constantly attacking them, even the military. So what do you like about America? Why are you fighting for it so hard? And on the left, there's just this constant malaise about what a horrible country we are and our sorry history. And yes, we do have a sorry history with a lot to be sorry about. But it's still, in perspective, you know, the last best hope. And we are a country that does change and has made a lot of progress. So I don't know why everyone has to be that down on it. And I just think we have a lot of problems in this country right now. We don't need to add to it by just having this ridiculous sort of hatred of our own situation and our own country, that there's actually a lot of good still there.
What do you think our biggest problem is?
Well, I think there's always the environment is always looming over us, but that's more of a long term, although it's getting shorter. I mean, we see it, you know, with the hurricane in Florida, not that hurricanes haven't always hit Florida, but obviously these weather events that happen out here, it's incredible drought and fires. These events that happen are obviously souped up. They're obviously worse than they used to be. And so that is always number one on my list. So I'm kind of thrilled that we finally got a president who finally got a bill passed that at least starts to address this. The more immediate problem, of course, I would say, the more immediate one is democracy. That's not, you know, 5 years, 10 years. That's a few years away because, trust me, in January of 2025, Donald Trump is going to show up for the inauguration whether he wins or not.
You really believe that?
That's a real problem. I totally believe
You think he's going to run again?
He's definitely going. Of course he's going to run again. Are you kidding? He thinks about nothing but. It's everything he loves. It's a fight. It's revenge. He hasn't given up on he hasn't conceded the last election. Of course he's going to run again. And if he does, it'd be very hard to deny him the nomination. I mean, his fans are rabid. Now, much less of the Republican Party wants him as the standard bearer than last time, but good luck trying to take it away from him. We know what kind of a gutter fighter he is when he gets into a scrap, so good luck with that, DeSantis. And then when he runs, I mean, anything is possible. I mean, look, half the country just will never vote for a Democrat for whatever reason, ever. So you're already at 50-50 when you begin.
Do you believe that we're really 50-50, or do you believe that that is an exaggerated projection of our social media reality that many of us in the media echo as if it were true vox populi, a true reflection of this country?
Well, I don't know. If you break it down by what matters, which is states, because we have an electoral college, it just seems to be a very close race every time. And, you know, one headline I can always predict in early November is race tightens. Hard to predict who. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people in this country who just have their mind made up based on party before the nominees are even out there. It doesn't really matter. 20% less Republicans want Trump to be the standard bearer next time, and yet if it's Trump versus the Democrat, it's a dead heat. That should tell you a lot.
And what do you think about on the other side of the ball? Do you think President Biden will run again? Do you think he should run again?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about on my show tonight. It's a very strange paradox that's going on with Joe Biden right now. I notice that when I talk to friends, the first thing out of their mouth about Joe Biden is, well, he shouldn't run again. And then you say, well, do you think he's doing a good job? He's doing great. He's doing great. We won't run any more of that. It tells you that this country's ageist. And so they just are obsessed with the idea that he's 79 years old. And they think anybody that age is about to keel over. And, you know, obviously, as you get into that age range, the possibility is higher. It's also higher that you're wiser, which is why he has gotten so much done in the last year. Because he's been there, he's done that, he's seen that movie before, he's seen the pattern, it came around again, he knew what to do. He did wind up getting things done that nobody thought he could get done, like having Congress work together on a number of really important bills. Climate change, as I just mentioned. I thought he handled sorry, I got my wars mixed up. Handled Ukraine, I think, as well as that could have been handled. So, first of all, I think he will run again because I think once you are president, you don't give it up. That is a piece of real estate he has been trying to get for a very long time. He finally got it. And as I say, he's been rather successful in a lot of major areas. Why would you give it up? And who's going to take it away from him?
Would you prefer somebody other than Biden?
Like who? Name somebody and I'll tell you.
I don't know. That's why I'm asking you the question.
Exactly, and that's the problem that the Democrats have when you go, oh, we don't want Biden, then who? Oh, now you're stumped.
What about the VP?
I mean, well, that's an interesting question, too, because obviously one reason that Biden's age is an issue with a lot of people is, again, they think he's going to die tomorrow, so they are very hyper-concerned about who the vice president is. It takes on more relevance when the president is elderly. So the fact that Kamala Harris is not popular at all is a real detriment for the Democrats. Now, it's not unheard of for presidents to switch their VP choice after one term. It's been done before, and he could choose somebody else.
Would you suggest that, and if so, whom?
I mean, yes, I would suggest it, actually. And I like Kamala Harris, but for some reason, she has not turned out to be a very good politician, and I don't know if she can reverse sometimes a reputation just takes on a life of its own. It's not even the person's fault, mainly.
But who would you pick? Who do you think's better for Biden than Harris?
Oh, I have no idea.
And who do you think Trump should run with? Do you think that there's anyone he could run with that would make him more palatable to you or anybody else who doesn't like him? That's what you call an old school cliffhanger, because Bill had quite a surprising answer to that question, and we're going to play the rest of the interview, part 2, tomorrow night with Bill Maher. Now, you want more Maher? Be sure to catch Real Time with Bill Maher Friday nights on HBO and HBO Max. You can check out Bill's podcast. Maybe I'll even be on it at some point. Club Random. There are new episodes released weekly on all podcast platforms. Bill's going to be doing stand-up at the New York Comedy Festival November 12th here in New York at the Hulu Theater at Madison Square Garden. He's also a proof of concept for us. We're going to talk politics, but not always with politicians. Provocative thinkers that make you think. You agree, you disagree, but you get to think, and that's the key. So, how about what you think about what you want to say to me? Agree, disagree? Where's the black suit? Get ready to call in and let me know. But next, a giant of journalism, still grabbing headlines, got more Twitter followers than I do. Dan Rather weighs in on the state of play in this country and the man that he can't stop tweeting about. Next.
Don't push me. Take your hands off of me unless you plan to arrest me.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
With the 1st Marine Division in South Vietnam.
CBS News has gained unprecedented access here from in front of the Brandenburg Gate in Berlin, Germany.
Kuwait City. Dan Rather reporting. Good night.
The OAO, the one and only Dan Rather. At 90 years of age, he can still teach me more about this job in 5 minutes than I've learned in 15 years. And now he's got 2.7 million Twitter followers. If anyone thought he slowed down, they're wrong. Dan Rather joins us right now. Thank you so much, Big Brother, for being on the show, especially on this first night.
Well, Chris, thank you very much for having me, and I do wish you good luck and Godspeed with your new program.
Thank you. 2.7 million Twitter followers. Is that you writing all those tweets?
Naturally, I have help, Chris, but I can say truthfully that nothing goes on the internet that I haven't been intimately involved with. But yes, I write the tweets, and yes, I write Steady, which is a newsletter we do 3 times a week. It's full-time work, and I have a collaborator, Elliot Kirchner, and together we do everything that's out there. I can tell you that nobody is more amazed that I would have that many Twitter followers or that many people subscribing to a newsletter than I am. That as you will remember, I surprise easily, but I have been really pleasantly surprised by that and very thankful for it.
You throw a lot of punches on Twitter. There are opinionated things, there are pointed things, there's some snarky things. You were never really like that on air. Is that intentional, and does it reflect different feelings now than you used to have?
Well, I don't think it reflects any different opinions, Chris. It's certainly, journalism has changed greatly, but what hasn't changed? I've been a working journalist for more than 70 years. That's 70 years. So what hasn't changed in more than 70 years? But on social media, what I've found is you better write something that's interesting, or people are not going to care. On the other hand, you don't want to get so caught up in writing something interesting that you don't write something that matters. And I can just say that in the same way I've grown as a person and grown in some of my opinions about things, that pretty much I'm still the same Dan Rather I was when I first went to work at CBS News way back in 1962.
Well, you still got a great head of hair, and you got a great voice. Give some perspective to my new audience here, Dan. Where do you think things stand in terms of the dialogue in this country and the risks that we currently face?
Well, first of all, we need to understand, I think we do understand, that this is a serious and dangerous moment in the American story. However, if we stop and take a deep breath, we also know that this country's been through a hell of a lot in the past. The Great Civil War in the middle of the 19th century, the 1960s when we had all those assassinations and a great war that split the country apart. That it's not in the American character to be fearful. And, to try to answer your question directly, I think that one of the things that's bothering me and bothers some people is that we lack unity. We're at our best when we are united. After the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor in 1941, we pulled ourselves together. After we were attacked on 9/11, we pulled ourselves together. That we know how to play team. We know how to be united. And that we tend to forget in the rush of daily journalism and headlines and worry about what's happening this second and the next second. What a tremendous country this is. This is still a very good country. There's a lot of beauty and goodness in this country. And I don't want to come on like some, preacher or something, but we need to remember that. And the struggle at the moment is to hold the country together. And we've had these moments before, but this is one of those moments where we're not as united as we need to be. And the world is perilous out there. Look at what's happening in Russia, Iran, China. I mean, there's danger everywhere. So we need to be more united, and we need to take a more moderate approach. We'll get down to a definition of the word moderate, but a more moderate approach to how we view one another. Just because we disagree with somebody else doesn't mean that first of all, it doesn't mean necessarily that they're wrong. And secondly, it doesn't mean that we can't get together with them for the good of the country. But the essential danger right now, the core of it, and the reason that people are worried or so much, and I would include myself in this, is that the very foundation of our constitutional republic, based on the principles of freedom and democracy, are being challenged.
Yes, sir.
That our institutions have suffered great damage, our traditional ways, our understanding about one another. So we need more unity and more moderation in dealing with one another, and if we don't get it, go ahead.
That's a good way to end it. Dan Rather, I appreciate you very much. You once told me that journalism is an act of faith in the future. And I think that we're all going to try to do our part to make sure we can get to a better place. And I appreciate you so much, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Thank you, Chris. Good luck. Godspeed.
All right. Thank you very much to Dan Rather, and thanks to you. We'll be right back after this break. The good news is we're going to keep doing phone calls. A lot of you called tonight. I love it. Keep it coming. The bad news is none of you come before my mother. When my mother called into the show tonight, she was getting on air. I'll tell you that right now. Mom, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Now, don't tell anybody I paid you to call me and to be nice. But did I look good on the show? That's all that matters.
Okay, you do look very well.
What did you think of the show? Did you hear Dan Rather?
Yes, I've been listening and watching it. It's very important. It really is, more than you can tell, Chris. And you being on the show, you're just making everybody feel good. And they really believe what you say. So that's what I'm happy about, that you're going to relieve people about a lot of things that they can't figure out themselves. And this is good. It's very good.
And I always tell people, Mom, when I talk about what matters, you know, everybody says, family first, you got to think about your family, but it's always been so important to you. And I tell them the story about how you put your book into the Pope's hand and said, La familia, that's the focus, and how much he loved it. And that it's always been important to you.
Yes. That's true. That's a lovely time to think of this, you know. It is really very touching.
Well, you've always meant family writ large, meaning everybody's family. You got to love, you got to care. Thank you, Mom, for loving me and for supporting me and for calling in tonight. I appreciate you, and thank you. On my first night, it means everything. I love you, Mom.
We all love you. We love you. Wish you well.
Thank you very much. I'll pay you later. All right, that's all I have for tonight. Thank you for being with me. This is the best comeback I could have hoped for, and I hope I see you again tomorrow. Bring a friend. My friend Dan Abrams starts right now. Hello, brother.
This was not on purpose that you had your mother at the end of the show, and I have my father.
I know.
At
You
the top.
one-upped.
This is completely unplanned.
You one-upped me.
Well, I don't know about that. We shall see.
You got your father live in
we
studio.
will be talking about the big lawsuit that Donald Trump filed against CNN. But let me ask you before you go. Most undercovered story by the media in the last year, because, you know, I do a lot of media coverage. I do a lot of, you know, they're saying this, they're saying that. In your view, what's the most underappreciated story in the past year?
Without question, the war in Ukraine. I was shocked, not because of the commitment of the men and women in our business. They go into dangerous places and they stay all the time. The lack of commitment to covering the actual warfare in Ukraine. When people were there, they weren't there long, and they were only in Kyiv. It was one of the big catalysts for me to make the decision to come back, because I know the American people don't really care, and it's gotten a little political in terms of why you should care. It matters too much. I couldn't believe there wasn't more commitment.
But, you know, more commitment, you mean more people actually in the war zones?
Oh, yeah. Well, we've always done that.
Yeah. But...
you know, I've spent my whole career, and I'm not a bang-bang person. You know, I'm not a war correspondent. I just go as part of my work. We have people who live those situations, and it's really important, especially now. I don't think America's interests have ever been more compromised abroad than in the outcome of what happens in Ukraine.
So you want to be going in the field?
Absolutely.
All right. Chris Cuomo, great to see you. Congrats on a great first show with some amazing guests, and it's great to have you here.
It's okay that you one-up me. I love your father.
We shall see.